Hi, everyone. This is Monica with the best interest of the parent. I literally just did like a 17-minute session, like live stream, thinking like, I don't think I'm live because nobody was making comments. And I'm like, oh, crap, it's probably not working. And so I found out that I'm not live. I never hit the button. So here I am. This is the second time for me, first time for you though. But as long as, hey, you know what? We're better off doing it twice than not doing it at all, right? So one of these days I'm going to get the freaking system correct. Okay, I'm going to start over. I'm just like, oh my God. All right. So, all right. Okay, here we go again. So how are you, everybody? This is Monica here with the best interest of the parent. And if you're joining me for the first time, you probably know that the family court is set up on purpose to steal your rights, to take your money, take your assets, make you homeless, take away your health, your children, you know, all this stuff. Like your life just gets flipped over when you're going through the court system, especially if you're the underdog parent because you're fighting with a narcissist and you're fighting with a narcissist inside of a narcissistic system. So of course, you know, the narcissist system is going to get all the pats on the back because they're like, you know, the VIP customer in the family court system. So with all this happening, you'll find that you're going to be stuck in agonizing psychological trauma, long-term psychological trauma. And that sucks, right? And so what I do as a parent who's been through the system for 11 years, as a parent who's a trained health coach, I'm an author, I'm an activist. I know exactly what you're going through. I've been through all of it. And I know what you're going through. And so I built a roadmap for healing and empowerment for parents going through the system so that they can go into the courtroom very calmly and confidently and take down their courtroom saboteurs. And you could do this in a very positive way. You don't have to go in there like all like, ah. You could go in there super confident, just calm, centered, grounded, and be very firm in your position that you will not be treated this way, period, right? It's uncalled for. And you deserve to be treated with respect. So that's what I mean. When you can stay calm and centered and focused, you automatically become an activist in the system and you're no longer a victim in the system. Parents almost always start off as victims because they're lost. They're starting to sink in that quicksand. They're kind of, there's like a shock to their conscience when they see the other side getting emboldened for their narcissistic behavior. And that can be very shocking and debilitating. But when you take on this like warrior activist mindset, you're not going to be thinking about that victim stuff anymore. And so this is the thing. All of this you might still get a dickhead judge who doesn't honor your rights, doesn't honor your children, doesn't do their job, breaks the law anyway. We can't control what the judge does. We can't control what the ex does. We can't control what these people do. We can control the embodiment that we bring in. We can control our mindset. And so the whole purpose of this is to be a role model for your community, for other parents, and be a role model for your children. And you know, you take on this like new identity as a warrior and as an activist, and you can fulfill a calling that wasn't there before. So I feel like parents really find themselves when they go through the family court system. I find that parents, they just transform when they get the help and the mentorship that they need. Otherwise, they just kind of plummet into a really toxic space, and that's really unfortunate as well. So if you can get help in like the first 3 to 5 years of your case, then you're most likely going to be able to take on an activist role. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about contempt, how to deal with contempt. Like, what do you do? Is it as scary as it seems? You know, how to be powerful when you're in a contempt situation. And is there anything you could do if you get really bad orders that hold you in contempt and you have to pay lots and lots of money to the other side as punishment for being naughty? Is there anything you could do? Is there anything you could do? Can you sue the state? Can you get a judge fired? Like, parents are like, they get so knocked down when they get held in contempt that they want to just kind of go nuts. You know, they want to like get the judge fired, grieve the other attorney. And like, you know, is that effective? Or, you know, what is there that a parent can do? What can a parent do? So I'm going to share with you some information that I received from another member of this community. So and this is why I'm creating this live stream tonight on this topic, because of her challenge that she's facing. So there's two pieces of her story. She was held in contempt like 3 years ago and was ordered to pay $6,350 to her abusive ex. Okay. And so that happened years ago. And now fast forward to 2021, she's now going to be going to court pretty soon, facing another contempt charge for not paying the sanctions that she was ordered to pay 3 years ago. You follow me? So she was ordered to pay all these sanctions. She didn't pay them. And now she's facing another day in court with another contempt charge because she didn't pay the sanctions. So I don't believe the parent asked for advice on what to do about the original contempt issues, but I'll answer it anyway in case parents watching have similar challenges. I was hit with contempt. I was hit with sanctions in my case, $3,500 I had to pay to my ex. And, what do we do? What do we do when the court throws a bunch of fines and fees and sanctions onto us and forces us to pay money towards our ex? Is there anything we could do about it? Yeah, absolutely. I think parents should always appeal a contempt charge if they know that they didn't do anything wrong. If you think you did something wrong, if you have court orders that say oops, I just dropped something. So if you have court orders that say don't do this and you do it, I wouldn't waste my time appealing. I would just pay the contempt or the sanctions. I would just pay it. That's just me because that's just what I would do. It's really hard to fight something that was ordered, and if you violate the order, it's just a hard sell to go to the appeals court. When there's willful contempt, and most parents, they don't do anything purposefully. It's usually something like don't show up late. And if you show up a day late, then, if you go on vacation with your child and you show up a day late because you overslept and missed the flight or something, you know what I mean? So, sometimes it's not really worth going to the appeals court. Sometimes it's better just to pay the freaking, sanction. I keep forgetting that word, sanction, and just move on with your life. So, but in this particular case, I was a little bit troubled by the order because this is what I saw. I saw that there was a trial in 2018. And so a bunch of stuff happened, testimony, all this crap that happens in trial. And then the judge issued a $6,300 sanction against the parent for past behavior that the judge didn't like, because judges are they're like what's that word I'm looking for? They're like super parents, and they have to parent us and monitor our behavior, right? Because we're just like stupid people. We need government to monitor how we behave. So this is what I found a little bit disturbing. The judge issued a $6,300 sanction on the parent for supposedly misbehaving. And so I guess my concern is that how would the parent know that they should not have been acting that way? So let's just say, the parent, so what the judge says was that the parent was being disrespectful. Okay. So unless there is clear rules on how you're not supposed to act with the other parent, never tell the parent that they're being selfish. Never tell the parent that they're being irresponsible. Never tell the parent that they're not aware of the child's needs. Never tell the parent, never say this, never say that. There should be a list of shit that you're not supposed to do. And if you do it, then you could get your sanctions. But if you don't know that you're not supposed to be talking to somebody a certain way, how are you supposed to know that you're doing anything wrong? And so I find that this happens a lot with these cases where a judge, two parents will be doing their thing, co-parenting or not co-parenting, whatever. They go to court years after they divorce. And then one of the parents just dumps all this crap into the record. Oh, she did this, he did that. He showed up late 3 years ago for soccer practice, and she didn't do this, and she didn't do that. And she fed the kids dairy, and the kids can't have dairy. And so the parents just dump all this crap into the record. The judge looks at it and then sanctions one parent for doing all this bad stuff. Now, the problem with that is that, again, if the parent doesn't know that the government's going to punish them for doing regular things that may not be favorable, they might not be nice things to do. It's not really nice to tell your other parent that they're irresponsible. It's not really nice to tell your ex you cheated on me 5 years ago, or it's not really nice to tell your ex that their mother's a drunk, but again, if there's no government set of rules that you can't say those things, why would the government punish you years later for saying something 3 years ago or 2 years ago? how are you supposed to know that you're going to get in trouble for that? So Ron Palmer from fixedfamilycourts.com calls that ex post facto punishment. Ex post facto punishment. And that is used a lot in the criminal court, where you don't know you're breaking a law, and then like you get in trouble for breaking a law that you didn't know you were breaking at the time. And Connecticut has Supreme Court case law that says if someone's breaking a law, the law has to be very clear on the law that they're breaking. Like, a law has to be very clearly outlined. And the average person with the average reading level has to know that something is punishable. So for example, our stop signs are very clear. Every single stop sign in the country means you have to come to a full stop. There's no room for interpretation. Speed limits, 65 miles an hour, that's very clear. It's not going to say, don't go too fast, don't go too slow. So in this parent's case, the parent I'm talking about, the judge sanctioned her $6,000 for being inconsiderate. So if there's no clear definition of what inconsiderate means, then how would that parent know that what they were doing was punishable by the government and punishable with $6,000? And so what I found in these orders that were issued in 2018 was that there's going to be a $50 fine for every single time a parent is disrespectful. So what defines disrespectful? Is dropping your child off 5 minutes late, is that disrespectful? It might be to one judge on a Tuesday, and then the judge on a Wednesday might say it's not disrespectful. And there's no clear boundaries, and there's no clear guidelines of what disrespectful means. There's no legal definition of disrespectful, and you can't know what rules you're breaking. And so this is ex post facto punishment. So this $6,000 sanction, in my opinion, in my non-legal opinion, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a health coach. I'm not trained in the law. In my opinion, this is ex post facto punishment. So again, if the parent doesn't know what they're doing wrong, then they can't. Why should they be punished by the government later? And the other thing is, we have a First Amendment right to conduct our relationships as we see fit. We have a First Amendment right to construct words and vocabulary in a certain way when we're talking to another person. So, if I say good morning, a certain way, like, that's my right to say good morning. If it offends the other person, that's, I'm allowed to express myself freely to another person. So if you're co-parenting, or you're, writing on Our Family Wizard, and you're communicating, and you're communicating, that's your right. You have a right to communicate with another adult. And if the adult doesn't like it, and then they could file a restraining order on you. They could go and say, I don't like the way this person's talking to me. I want a restraining order. Great. Then if they have enough probable cause, they could get a restraining order put on. And then if you violate that restraining order, then you could get punished. But if you're just hurting someone's feelings for 3 years, and there's no like legal boundaries that you're crossing because you're not doing anything wrong, you're just offending somebody, like, that's their fucking problem, And so what happens is, a lot of times the parent will bank these instances, and then they'll vomit 100 different instances of bad behavior that took place over a period of years, and then the other parent gets hit with a giant sanction, which is completely unconstitutional, because the judge is basically punishing the parent for conducting themselves in that relationship as they saw fit at the time. Okay. And maybe they were being a little rude or disrespectful or whatever, but again, that's not a legal issue. It's not illegal to disrespect somebody. If the other parent didn't like it, they could have filed for a restraining order. They could have called the police and said, I'm being harassed. There's other remedies that people could do instead of banking the issues and then complaining years later to the judge. And it looks like that's what happened, because again, $6,000 is insane. That's an insane amount of punishment, and that's cruel and unusual punishment. So that's just my opinion on all this. I'm sure a lot of you will agree. I was hit with the same exact situation in my case. My ex banked all the issues and vomited like a pile of stuff to the judge. And then the judge retroactively punished me for my prior conduct that I didn't know was illegal or punishable, because I was just simply being me. The judge sanctioned me because I bothered my ex to go to mediation. My ex didn't like it. I kept saying, hey, let's go to mediation. We got to go to mediation. My ex didn't like it. He felt pressured. And because he felt pressured, I was sanctioned, but my court order said I have to go to mediation if I want to go back to court. So I was saying, let's go to mediation. And so it's not illegal to ask a parent to go to mediation. Okay. Even if it makes them feel bad and hurts their feelings and it bothers them, it's not illegal. It's not punishable. And again, there's no order that I was breaking. So with this particular parent, the $6,000 sanctions, what was the order that you were violating? Hurting someone's feelings, making someone annoyed. That's not really a violation of a court order because you're simply raising a child together or a couple kids together. So you're going to have to communicate. And so for this reason, like with all this stuff said, this all happened in Our Family Wizard with this particular parent. This is another reason why I'm against Our Family Wizard, because when people use Our Family Wizard and there's a narcissist involved, because I think Our Family Wizard is just fine when the parents are moderately functional. Even if they don't like each other, if they're kind of like normal functioning people, not narcissistic, it could work. But when you are using Our Family Wizard with an abuser or a narcissist, it's what happens is that they print up the communications and then they show the judge, and the judge will just go through everything with a fine-tooth comb and then retroactively punish you in an ex post facto manner, which is unconstitutional. And again, Connecticut has case law. It says you have to know what laws you're violating. You can't be retroactively punished. Unfortunately, a lot of civil rights attorneys and stuff will say, well, this is civil court, that pertains to criminal court. But this is serious because your property is being seized from you. You're being seized, $6,000 is being seized from you. And so it has to be important. I'm so tired of attorneys saying that doesn't matter, who gives a crap. It's civil court, who cares? You don't have parents need to really still push for this because property rights are very, very, very important. And we have a case, Nelson versus Colorado, that went all the way to the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, that outlines that further. And I think if you guys want to look up that case, Nelson versus Colorado, Justice Ginsburg, her opinion, her concurring opinion is valuable. So you can read about that, about how like property rights, we need to honor our property rights even in civil cases. So again, if you're getting sanctioned $6,000, your property is being seized from you by the state and given to another person. So you should have a lot of due process. Another question I have for you, not that it matters, because again, the window to appeal is shut. This happened years ago, but was there a separate hearing just for the contempt, or was this just lumped into your custody case? Because oftentimes there is no hearing for contempt. You'll have a normal custody case, parents are fighting for whatever custody, and then the judge will just issue a contempt citation, or rather sanctions, without a separate hearing to determine, the contempt. And so if you didn't get a hearing, you might be able to reopen the case and say, I never got my hearing for contempt. You just gave me a sanction without a hearing. You might be able to open it. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the laws. It might be worth your time to hire someone to talk to you about it, maybe Ron and Sherry Palmer. If you never got a contempt hearing, you might be able to open the case and get your hearing and possibly erase those charges. I'm not sure. I would look into it. But again, if the parent doesn't appeal something as preposterous as a $6,000 sanction, then there's not a whole lot that can be done, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. And so you might end up being stuck with that charge. You might be stuck with it if you didn't appeal. And that's what's really unfortunate, is because like most parents, when they get hit with something like that, they're so broken down. They're like, oh my God, it really takes you out. Right. And so the last thing you want to do is figure out an appellate procedure. It's really, really exhausting to go through the appellate procedure when you're already hit so hard with those sanctions, and you feel battered and broken down, because essentially, typically, the abuser gets the benefit of your sanctions. You have to pay your abuser. You have to basically pay someone to abuse you, and that can really break the person down. And the last thing they want to do is go to the appellate court. And this is very strategic on the family court's part. This is a very crafty business move by the family court. The family courts create this on purpose. Okay. This is how they get business. This is how they keep this whole business going, is by emboldening the narcissist. And if you're the abused parent, they're going to, make sure that you're more abused. So it's done on purpose. It's part of the business model. Don't take it personally, And so the other piece of what's happening is that there's another hearing coming up on the inability to pay, and, you have to, unfortunately, you're gonna have to show that you can't afford to pay these sanctions. And so what I would probably do is just pay like $10 a week, $5 a week towards the sanction. You're not going to miss that money. You're not going to notice that money gone, and you might be able to still stay in compliance. It sucks. There's nothing worse than having to pay money to your abuser who has your kids, and you're the underdog parent. You're the second class parent. There's nothing worse. Okay. I get it. I pay money to my ex every single week. I get it. And I owe my ex sanctions, So I get it. And what I would like to see happen, let me just tell you. So you really have to just like tell them that you just simply don't have the assets to pay this in one lump sum. You have to just make tiny payments. I would get those payments as small as possible, where you're not going to notice that it's missing. And I think that's going to make you feel less assaulted, spiritually assaulted over it. But what I want you to do is consider taking this situation and having this be the catalyst to unlock your inner activist, if you haven't already. Every single person who's made a big difference in the world has a story similar to yours. They all have a major injustice, people who are like the civil rights thought leaders, they have a big story of injustice. And so your $6,300 injustice, among other injustices in your case, you can make that the catalyst to birth the activists in you. And you could make what I think all parents should do. I really truly believe this. Take the most painful part of your case. It could be that you don't see your kids enough. It could be that you have to pay your abuser money, for having a conversation with them through Our Family Wizard that they didn't like. And, whatever the most painful thing in your case is, make that your cause forever. You don't have to fix the whole system. I've seen parents go to legislators and say, the family court sucks. They have to be abolished and their judges need to all get fired. And legislators don't know what to do with that. And I know this because I just had a conversation with 4 legislators last week. And my husband and I, we spoke with 4 different legislators, and we stuck to like 3 core problems. If we started talking about the other 50 problems, we would have lost them. And we were still losing them even talking about the 3 issues. But what I think you should do is take the most painful part of your case, which could be this. I mean, I think having to pay $6,000 to your ex who abused you is very, very painful. And so you can take this piece and try to get legislators in your state to create legislation that protects parents from something like this. I think using Our Family Wizard when there's an abuser is horrifying. I think that should be abolished, because there's nothing valuable in using Our Family Wizard when there's an abuser. There's no benefit at all. And there's not a single thing that you'll ever get from using Our Family Wizard if you're working with an abuser. Because if your child's in the emergency room, your child has a broken bone, stitches, there's other provisions in your court case and in your orders that have provisions for that. I read your orders. There's a whole section about what to do with emergencies. So if you already have provisions on what to do with an emergency with your child, why do you need Our Family Wizard? The whole purpose of Our Family Wizard is to have day-to-day communication. Why do any parents need to have day-to-day effing communication over their kids? Would it be nice? Yes, of course. It's ideal. It's nice to know if Johnny's failing history or whatever. But most of the issues about your child can be accessible without your ex. Okay. You don't need your ex to access anything, nothing. And so, oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Why do I have to have a conversation with my ex about my son's study skills? Like, I could call up my son's teachers and have conversations with my son's teachers on those issues, on my son's health, dentist. If my son had a cavity, I don't need to talk to my ex about my freaking cavity. I could call up dentist and talk about that. Anything I need to know about my son, I could talk with other people about it. Now, I know in your case with this mom is prohibited from accessing any of that information, which really sucks. I would immediately file to get those rights back. I mean, I think parents, if you have orders that say you can't access medical records, go back to court, reopen your freaking case and say, you don't have the right to take those rights away from me. I'm a fit parent. I get to access my child's records. You can't bar me from that. I don't even get me started. That's just me. I would not fucking tolerate that at all. Like, seriously. But again, let's just say that's true. Let's just say you can't access medical records. You can't access teacher records, report cards. Okay, let's just say that's true. So your ex is like the only conduit to knowing that information. I would rather not know those things about my child than go to my abuser to get that information. All right. I don't want to be dependent on an abuser for anything. Even if they might disclose some stuff about the child, but they're going to be abusive about it. They're going to be like, oh yeah, here's the report card. It's all your fault that they're failing. So to me, it's not worth it. My mental health and my dignity is more important than knowing if my child had a cavity and having my ex be abusive about it. Again, I think parents should go back to court and fix that. You're better off going to court and fixing that problem with the court than having to take it. I'm trying to be clean with my language. You're better off going to court and fixing that issue than forcing yourself to be abused by your ex to get that information, whatever information they want to disclose to you, which usually the judge allows them to censor what they share with you, like to filter what you get to learn about your child, because they're in charge. I don't believe in those intentional power dynamics. I would not participate in that at all. I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to call my ex to find out my son's report card, my son's cavities, my son's doctor shit. No, I'm going to go to the court and I'm going to say, I want this access to my child now. You have not terminated my rights. You have not given me a termination hearing for my legal rights to my child. I want these rights back. And if you don't want to give these rights back, I demand a termination hearing right now. And if they don't give it to me, I would go right to the appeals court. I would say, nope, they terminated my legal rights without a hearing. I want my legal rights. I want my access to my child's records, period. You're better off doing that. That is high vibration energy. That is like activist energy. Whereas if you're forced to communicate with your ex over stuff, that's victim energy. That's just victim bullshit. And the family courts force you into that dynamic because that's how they make their money. Okay. They want you guys to be enmeshed with each other so that you could fight. And so that one of you goes crying to court over the issues because you're fighting and no, absolutely not. That's codependency parenting, not healthy, not good. Okay. So I think I covered everything, but yeah, I think you could take the $6,000 assault on you and make this your mission, make it so that judges cannot force parents to interact with each other in a certain way. Again, if you're super abusive and you're a total jerk to your ex, fine. Your ex could file a restraining order on you. Your ex can show the police how you've been treating them. And maybe they could get a restraining order and then everything's fine. Right. Instead of banking the issues and then complaining to the judge and then getting financially rewarded for that. Okay. Not cool, not healthy. That's not how freaking victims, that's not what we do. I'm not going to let my neighbor sexually harass me for 3 years and then go to civil court and be like, my neighbor's harassing me. And then I collect $6,000. I'm going to call the police the first or second or third time my neighbor does it. And I'm going to get a restraining order like everybody else on the planet. Okay. That's what people need to do. They don't need to go crying to a family court judge because they don't like the way they're being treated. Go through it the regular way. And I would have appealed this order if it was, if you were still in the window, but do make this your mission, make this your purpose. And there's going to be a podcast episode released on Friday about how to do that. Okay. How to make your trauma like more of a mission and a purpose. It's going to be super amazing. I already recorded the episode. I'm just going to release it on Friday. So, let's see what we're saying for comments here. Okay. Yeah. So someone says there was an order it's actually the parent that I'm helping. There was an order not to write rude emails. I thought I sent you that. Yeah, I did get that. But the thing is, like, there's no legal definition for rude emails. What does rude mean? If you don't write sincerely on the bottom of the email, is that rude? Like, the judge should have outlined a standard for you. Okay. Rude is subject to opinion. And so there's no way to know legally what that means. There's no legal definition for rude. So let's see here. And so someone says, this is plan after corrupt DCF Waterbury is finished playing games with my family court agreement. She will be sanctioned like she should have been, but DCF saved her for a little and charged her with abuse. It's only a matter of time when DCF trail trash Litchfield goes because of my lawyers here in Westport and brought to Stamford 3 contempt charges prior to DCF and Stamford ready to act. I think parents should file these contempt charges against DCF. If DCF has your kids, I'm a huge fan of that. So someone says, I should file a harassment order because my ex is verbally abusive. Yeah, I mean, again, this isn't legal advice. If my ex was verbally abusing me, I would just go to the police and get a restraining order. I would not go to family court for anything. That's just me, though. I'm not saying you shouldn't. So, I mean, again, it's a matter of opinion. You could talk to like an attorney who specializes in harassment and abuse and see what their advice is. I'm not a fan of people doing things differently just because they're in divorce court. So if you guys were never in family court and your ex was harassing you, why not just do it the way everybody else does it? Like, I don't understand the double standards. Like, why is there a certain level of relief available to certain parents or certain people and not others? For example, with this parent that we're talking about tonight, why couldn't her ex just call the police? I keep saying that. Call the police. If you don't like the way you're being treated, call the police or stop engaging with that person. Why go to family court for that issue? So, again, that's just my opinion. I've been in the system so long. I just know that this shit don't work, doing it that way through the family court. Someone says, I hate our family wizard. I do too. I absolutely do. It's not like I hate our family wizard. I hate orders that force parents to use our family wizard because, again, the government can't force you into a contract, and that's what they're doing. And the purpose of using our family wizard is so that the government, the judge, can monitor what you say, and a lot of parents think that that's a great idea because I used to think our family wizard was amazing because I was like, oh, the court's going to see how my ex treats me really, really bad. But the court did not do that. The court looked at all of our communications and the court allowed my ex to treat me however he wanted. And I was sanctioned. I was sanctioned for asking my ex to go to mediation. Okay. And the judge didn't like that. The judge says, oh, you asked him to go to mediation all the time. I'm going to sanction you. It's like asking a freaking question is you should have told me in the court orders that I'm not allowed to ask those things. Because then if I broke that order and done that, then you could sanction me. But you can't sanction someone when they're doing something that they don't know is wrong. You can't do that. That's ex post facto punishment. So someone says judges should be able to recognize abuse on email and reactions to abuse. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm not an attorney and I'm not a legal specialist, but I really think abuse needs to be managed by the police. They're the experts. Judges, I think taking as much discretion out of their hands as possible is key. That's just my opinion. Because if these people were trustworthy, if these people were ethical, I would say absolutely go tell the judge you're being abused. But they don't. They're not ethical. These people are not ethical. They are here to promote abuse, and so it's a broken system. So I don't want to use a broken system to fix my problems. I'd rather go to the police if I'm being abused. I mean, just like everybody else. If all the other people in the world, when they're being abused, they go to the police. So I don't understand the two-tier system. So let's see here. Someone says, I will not pay. Yeah, super. $5 a week. That's what I could afford, $5 a week until I'm 87 years old. Yeah, so we have a parent that says, I have no access to school or medical and need to know when the activities are. It's just so ridiculous. That is truly abuse. That's truly abusive. And these are judges doing this. I highly doubt that the other parent asked the judge to have that information restrained from you. Let's see. So someone says, I lost legal. I have a judgment that forces me into a codependent dynamic of power and control with an asshole. Yes, as much distance between you and the other parent as possible is ideal. That's healthiest for you, healthiest for your children. I truly, truly believe that. There are so many people. I just put out a Facebook ad 2 weeks ago, and I got trashed. I got destroyed. It's so funny. Every time I checked my ads, there'd be this giant paragraph from some expert in the family law industry saying, you need to work things out with your ex, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, would you tell that to a rape victim that she needs to work things out with their rapist or he needs to work things out with his rapist? No. Distance is healthy. Boundaries are healthy. And that's how you can parent better. You could parent so much better when you're not enmeshed with your abuser. And your abuser could parent better because when their supply is gone, then they get to channel their energy elsewhere, and they get to probably pay better attention to the kids and their responsibilities. So it's actually healthier for everybody. Just my opinion. I've been in the system 10 years. So, oh yeah, this is huge. The judge granted relief that was not requested. Oh my God. I want to see more parents take that to the appeals court, because that is massive. Like my religious rights were stripped from me. I can't teach my child my religion. And my ex never asked the court to take that away from me. He never said, don't let Monica teach religion to our son. Never said that, but the judge took that away from me. That's a prior restraint of free speech. The judge put a gag order on me on what I'm allowed to say to my child in my own home. And effectively, if I were to go to church on Sundays, I would have to leave my son home and take my other two kids to church with me. So like segregation inside the house with other siblings, and forcing, the state forcing you to leave your child at home because you can't teach your child your religion. That's a prior restraint on speech. That's a gag order. That's unconstitutional. It's a First Amendment right to ban somebody from teaching religion to their child. Like there's like 100 Supreme Court cases that say you can't do that. The government can't do that. So, so someone says contempt has to be willful. It can't be willful if you don't know what you're not supposed to write or say. Yes, absolutely. All right, excellent. So we have another question tonight, and that is how to flip the script. So what does that mean, flip the script? Well, when I wrote this thing today where I said, let me just pull it up. Sorry. Okay. So I made a little meme today where it says the best interest of the child doctrine was intentionally inserted into family law statutes to derail parents from using the Constitution. Instead of relying on guaranteed rights, parents are now chasing the judge's approval. Flipping the script is the way we will take down the system. So someone says, what do you mean by flipping the script? So flipping the script is more of a mindset. It's more, you do want to flip the script verbally, but it's also more of a mindset. So what I mean by that is, why not like walk into court and flip the script where now the burden is on the other. Let me just take down this comment here. Sorry. The burden is now on the other party to justify why you shouldn't be treated as an equal person. When I say equal, I don't necessarily mean equal to the other parent, which obviously I do, but like also equal to other parents. What about your next door neighbor? What about your aunt, your uncle, your best friends? Why are they allowed to parent their kids and you can't? Why do you have restrictions on how much you're allowed to parent? I mean, obviously, if you have 50-50 custody, you're not going to be able to parent your child 100% of the time. But if you're not parenting your child half the time, why do other people get to parent their child half the time and you don't? And so flipping the script is putting the onus on the other person, whether it's your ex or the judge or the evaluator or the GAL or somebody else, the parenting coordinator, the therapist, all the other people who think that they know more than you. And flip the script and put it on them. You tell me why I should not be around half the time or have the same rights to the legal documents, like we talked about earlier. Why should I not have the same legal rights, the same access to my child's records as I did when I was still married? Flip the script. Instead of me having to audition and like play this role, like, oh, I'm a responsible parent. I was leader of the bake sale. I have a full-time job. I'm a soccer coach. This is what parents are doing. They're like, they're in there applying for a job. They come in with a resume and they try to audition for the role as parent just because they're getting a divorce, or just because they're divorced. And so why not flip the script and put everything on the other side, whoever's challenging your authority to be a parent, and make them tell you why your rights no longer apply, instead of you trying to prove that you're worthy. Okay. We don't have to do that when we take our babies home from the hospital. We don't have to jump through hoops. We don't have to pass tests. We don't have to diaper our baby in front of anybody watching. We don't have to get the government to come in and watch over us while we're parenting our babies. And if anything, that's when we need the most help, is in the very beginning when we don't know what we're doing. Like, I had no clue what I was doing when they sent me home with my son. I was like, dude, why the hell are you sending me home with this baby? I don't know anything. If the government's going to get involved, it should have been then, not years later, when I already figured out how to parent. And now I have to prove myself, So like in my case, like my son was first taken away because the judge didn't like that I had a massage therapy career. They said that was unstable. The judge didn't like my GPA in college. That was unstable. I mean, the judge just didn't like me. And so what we do as parents, we try to make the judge like us. We think that we have to be liked instead of using our constitutional rights. So the parent who made who asked that question, if you listen to my podcast episodes, I pretty much talk about this in every single episode, about how we need to stop creating this mindset that we have to audition. We don't have to prove anything. We don't have to ask for stuff. We have to go in and say, why are you even thinking about taking this away from me? What about the Fourth Amendment? What about the First Amendment? What about my rights? What about my rights under informed consent? All these things. So do listen to my podcast. I know I think episodes 10, 11, and 12 talk about that quite a bit. And if you have follow-up questions, do let me know. If you need more, if you need me to talk more about this, then go ahead and let me know, and I'll cover it next time. So, so someone says, F the judge, I do not exist to make her happy, to meet her approval. That's BS. Yeah. Someone says, if their supply is gone, they will use our children for supply. Yeah, absolutely. It's they're like machines, and they plug into people to suck energy out. So don't be that person. You don't have to be the narcissist's supply. Okay. That's not your job. Let them go find another victim. So let's see here. Any other questions? I think I got all the questions. Let's see. You guys are so funny. All right. I think we are done, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on one second. Before I pull up your question on the screen, I want to make sure there's no swears in it. Not that I'm against that, but we want to be sensitive. Unreal, these judges. I wish I had your mindset early on, Monica. I was totally auditioning, and once my 13-year-old daughter was in the courtroom listening, my ex brought her against court order, and she sat in the courtroom listening and watching. Oh my freaking God. Oh my God. No, listen, I did not have this mindset for the first 5 years. I was like, oh my God, I hope I'm good enough. Oh my God, please like me. Please do this. I was so pathetic because I bought into all this brainwashing that the court is better than you. Not true. When did I say this? I said something to a parent recently. I think it was in the group. I said something like, you have the most leverage on the very first day of your court case. The day you set foot in court for the very first time and you don't know where the bathroom is and you're like, what's going on? What do I do? Who do I talk to? On that day, you have the absolute most power. You have the most leverage. You have the most everything. When parents contact me for help and they haven't even gone to court yet, I'm like, oh my God, you have so much power and leverage right now because nothing has been taken from you yet. You haven't given anything away yet. When parents are 5 years in, it's really, really hard. It's really hard. I didn't start fighting back until I was 5 years in, and it didn't necessarily work. I lost my Supreme Court petition. So if I had done all this in the beginning, then things would be different. So we got to get these parents very, very early on. It's like cancer. You want to find it when you only have a couple cells, not when you have not when it's what's that word? Metastasized. You don't want to metastasize your court case by giving up your rights for years and years and years. But I do believe that if you give consent, you should be able to take back consent at any time. And I do encourage parents to do that. I think parents should say first couple of years, I did want the court to make a best interest determination. I did want a GAL, but I no longer want those things because you guys suck. You guys are stupid. You guys don't know nothing about my kid. I want my rights back. I want to take over and make these decisions now because I allowed you guys to make decisions. You guys effed it up. I want my rights back. I think that is 100% reasonable. And I think that I think consent can be revoked at any time. That's law that I'm trying to research, but I can't find a whole lot of it because most parents don't go in and try to take back consent. They just give consent away forever because their attorneys are telling them to do that. So someone says, how does your case, let me bring this up. How does your case get as high as the Supreme Court? So what you do is you get a court order, you go to the appeals court. And then if you lose your appeal, you go to the Supreme Court. If you want to go to the United States Supreme Court, I looked into this. You need an attorney, as far as I know, and I wasn't willing to invest the money to do that. I could have, but it was just, I had just had a baby, and it just wasn't the right time in my life to do that. So And also my case wasn't as clean as some other parents. Like I gave consent for so long that I was afraid that if I went to the United States Supreme Court, I was going to screw things up because I gave consent for 5 years for the state to make a best interest determination. The parent I want to see go to the United States Supreme Court is the parent who never gave consent and still had their kid taken away. And then they want to go to the Supreme Court. So I think that should be reserved for a parent with a cleaner case than mine. My case was a messy case. So, isn't it a violation? Let me see. Isn't it a violation of freedom of speech to file this contempt? It's not a violation of free speech to file contempt. Anyone can file contempt. I think that's your question. Isn't it a violation of freedom of speech to file contempt? No. I mean, if you're getting a spanking by the court for not being nice to your ex, I think that's a violation of free speech. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Yeah, I think being told how to conduct yourself with another person, or rather being punished retroactively, I think that's a violation of free speech. Absolutely. So yeah, excellent. So we will meet up next Monday. I think next Monday I'm going to be talking about how to deal with haters and dream stealers, because we do deal with a lot of negative people in this industry, this community. So we should talk about that. So if you have like stories of like someone not supporting you, someone trying to steal your dreams, if you want to like stick up for yourself in the system and people are telling you not to, or if you have haters that are in our community, like I do, I have a lot of haters. I have men that hate me for being female, and I have women that hate me for supporting equal rights. And so I get my fair share of hate mail. And if you're taking on a significant role in like reform and, transforming parents, then you're going to get a lot of haters. It's just the way it goes. It goes with the territory. So I think even Mother Teresa had haters, so it's all good. So we will meet up next Monday, and I appreciate you all coming on tonight. All right. We'll meet soon. Bye-bye.